What's up YouTube? This is No More Op 4, reviewer of guns, gear, and the outdoors. Please check out my channel and subscribe, as well as my blog, which has more in-depth information on the topics that I cover. In this video I'm going to show you how I prioritize necessary tasks when I set up a bivouac or a camping site. The techniques shown could be used in a survival situation as well. Basically, when you set up your campsite, you need to prioritize tasks based on your current situation. There are many factors to consider, but the main ones are food, water, shelter, and fire. For this video, we're primarily going to be focusing on shelter and fire. We walked a few miles into an isolated area that had a lake. All the equipment that we brought was carried in on our own packs. It was about a total of about 100 pounds of gear between the two of us. Videos on backpacking systems to come soon. In our situation, it was cold and rainy. We had a small amount of food and water and could collect both from the lake if our supply ran out. Because of that, our primary concerns were getting a shelter built, procuring firewood, and keeping it dry. So in this video, I'm going to show you how we accomplish those primary objectives. What's up YouTube? No More Op 4 out here in the woods for you with a main channel contributor, Bone Hunter. Say what's up, man.
What up YouTube?
Just going to be doing a couple series of videos for you today. We're getting out here, and one of the things I wanted to talk about was setting your priorities when you pick a campsite. After you've decided where you're going to spend the night and set up your camp, you need to analyze the situation to determine what you need to focus on first. As you can see with the weather, it's heavily overcast. It's rained heavily in the last couple of days, and right now it's in the mid-40s. At night it's probably going to get to the mid to low 30s. So our main goal is to provide shelter and get firewood for ourselves first. So that's what we're going to focus on now. Before we screw around and mess around with any of our gear, we're chopping down wood and we're going to get set to have a fire built. So you don't have to focus on trying to get really large stuff right off the bat. If you can cut a couple smaller dead portions of trees down that are still connected to a live piece like this is, that's going to last just as long as burning wet wood. So we're going to try to get this piece down and look for some other ones. It's okay if some of the bark is wet, because you can see there's still a lot of dry exposed pieces that we can use. So as you saw in the last one, it's important to make sure you know which way the tree is going to fall when you cut it. I used the tree that it was standing next to hide behind so it wouldn't fall on me as I pushed it in the direction I wanted it to go. So this, we don't really have anything to hide behind. It's not that large of a tree, but if it fell on you, it's still going to hurt or kill you. So I'm going to help Bone Hunter while he cuts it down. You're never going to find a tree that's completely dry and dead. We don't like to cut live trees down, so what we try to do is find trees that are sheltered by other large or tall trees, and just by feeling if they have any exposed inner part of the tree where there's no bark, just feel that to see if it's wet. And I found this one, it is dead. One way to tell that is by checking the branches on it to see if they snap off, if they're dry and crisp. That just tells you that the tree's dead. So and most of the trees still have their leaves and this one has not. So we're going to cut this one down. I'm going to have it fall this way.
Like that saw more and more, huh?
Yeah. Trailblazer Survivor saw, recently reviewed. Check it out. Taking the extra 5 minutes to find the right pieces of wood is going to save you a lot of time down the road later, so don't be too hasty whenever you're trying to pick the right trees. You want to make sure you find the driest one you possibly can. If there are two of you and you have more than one way to cut the wood, also you should focus on that if that's one of your priorities, because it's stupid for him to stand there and watch while I cut and then take turns. He could be doing something else if we don't have two saws. Okay, so rain came a little bit sooner than we were expecting, and we had to hurry up. We got all the wood cut that we want. We haven't batoned it yet. We've got that hidden under a little makeshift shelter we made with branches. So now what we did was we set up our campsite area. Our next goal obviously is going to be to keep the wood as dry as possible. So what we're doing is created a shelter using the tarp that we have, tying it off on surrounding trees, and now we brought over a whole bunch of wood. This can be anything you want. If it's wet, soaked, doesn't matter. It's still going to block wind. It's going to help you retain a little bit of warmth. You can see this pile over here to my right. What we're going to do is we're going to stack the wood up along the side and then over on that side, and we may get some moss and kind of use it as like a roofing to kind of keep some of the heat in, also keep the rain out. So we're going to do that right now. Okay, so what we're trying to do now is get roofing material, and what we're going to use for that is this moss here. Basically what you do is just like cutting a cake. You want to take it and cut it like that, and you want to make sure you're getting it cut, or else it'll tear and come into clumps whenever you go to cut it, and that won't work well. So little cuts like that, and then go over it again to make sure it's cut. If you drag it, it'll tear it and pull it. After that, get your knife under there and use the knife to cut all the little connecting particles underneath of the root system, and then just pull it out. Pulling it out is the difficult part. If it breaks apart a little bit, you're okay, but that's still going to be a good piece of moss to use. And just do this. You don't need to cover the entire area, but large enough area where the water points of where you think the water's going to come in. We have a tarp, so there's going to be a specific draining point. We need to especially be careful with that section of the roof. Okay, we've got the moss collected, as you can see. Now what we're going to start doing is basically using it as a roof to isolate from water and drainage from the top of the tarp. Will also protect from wind. So pretty simple here. What you want to do is start from the bottom and work your way up. Now if you have trouble getting it to hold, what you can do is you can use sticks like this and just kind of lay them over top of the larger logs that you've placed, and that can make it a little bit easier to place the moss on top because there's a little bit more surface area on those. That way it'll be a little bit easier for you. Okay, so we got the moss put up on the wind side to protect us. keep a little bit of extra heat in. And this is basically the drainage point we're going to be using for the water that builds up on the tarp. When you lay the moss, or anything else, if you use bark like we did here to make a little bit of a gutter, if you use that, start at the bottom and work your way up. It's the same principle as using a shingle. So when the water comes down, it's always on the top piece. So how it works, comes down just like that. We're diverting the water flow just with a little ditch that we dug, basically, over to the natural way that the water will roll down the hill. We can dig this a little bit deeper, but you can see here, the rainwater isn't going into our camp, it's going right down the hill. Okay, so we did a little bit of fishing. It was pouring down rain. We actually caught 7. We caught 7 fish.
We kept 7.
We kept 7. A lot of little bluegill. We threw back a lot of them. After we had like 6, we started throwing them back. And then we landed another bigger one. We kept that. We're going to show you those in a second. I'll inlay the pictures. It was pouring down rain. Now what we're focused on is we've got them tied up over down in the lake. We batoned a decent amount of wood to start a fire. Now we're going to fillet the fish and get them cooking. There's a break right now. It stopped raining about a half an hour ago. Hoping it stays, but it may be back. So we'll see.
Sounds fucking good.
Alright, so Bone Hunter's over there batoning wood, starting the fire over here. I have some birch bark we found, picked on the way in. We knew we would need it because it's been soaked out here. That was the only dry, small stuff we could find. And I'm going to use cotton balls with petroleum jelly on them to hopefully ignite the rest of it. There we go.
Oh, dude, even fucking better. Can I do that?
Probably, unless the other one slides off. So, we got the fire started. Just fucking with it right now, man, trying to get it to go. We had a little bit of difficulty, I'll be honest. You know, just goes to show you, no matter how much you come out here, it's still hard to get a fire if it's wet. So, now we're to the point where we've got a good bed of coals going. We don't want it to be too big because, one, we have to cook our food, and two, you know, we don't really want to burn up all the wood. So probably just let it chill. Just make sure everything doesn't fall and smother itself. But I'm going to cook some back straps, some beef stew, and some of the fish that we caught. So.
Okay, take it.
This is a No More Off 4 special. Mountain House's beef stew in my GSI Duelist kit. Just got it boiled. Gonna throw the lid on and let it cook for a little bit longer, and then it's gonna be good. We're gonna mix it with some venison. It's gonna taste nice. Okay, so as you can see, sun has set. It's definitely dark now. What we're doing is we're filleting some of the fish that we caught, and we've got the fire going over here. I did want to show you guys today how to actually cook the fish. Unfortunately, because of the time it took us to get the fire set up, we made our easiest source of food first because we were really hungry. So now what we're doing is we're going to fillet the fish up, but it's so dark that we really can't show you as much as I'd like to how to cook these. So I will have to do that in another video, but just remember, when you're out here, focus on your priorities. Take care of the fire first. Don't wait until, you know, an hour before the sun sets, because as we found out today, you know, you have to get this started early. Fortunately, we did. We started about 3 hours before the sun set, and we needed about an hour and a half of that to get a good bed of coals going. So no more OPT4, more outdoor videos to come, and Bone Hunter filleting some fish.
Later on, YouTube.